There we go. Hey, everyone. Hello. So good to see you all here. I trust everyone can hear me and see me. Now, my camera broke. I have to get it repaired. So I have another camera I use. You can see the color's not quite so true, and the picture's not quite as good as I normally like. So welcome everybody to Satsang, and as um, people are arriving, let's just kind of get into the satsang vibe, if you might say, which is the opportunity to be a human being and to be able to actually ponder yourself is it's quite a gift to actually be able to contemplate yourself. No other critter, as far as we know, can do that, can just ponder its own nature, be aware of being aware. Most, admittedly, most don't make use of it. Most don't bother with it. Not everybody cares. We've become, we're in a transition period. We're in a transition period where our lives were completely and totally driven by the survival instinct. We were completely at the mercy of the environment, and so all of our activities and our interests, our entire cultures revolved around this need to survive. Then something happened. Something began to emerge in us humans, that we started to become self-aware. It's hard to tell exactly when this happened, but when it did is when saints and sages and prophets and things and people of that nature began to emerge. And we've not, as a whole, humanity has not yet caught up to the fact that we're not in the jungle anymore, that we really have mastered the environment to the point where there's no need for fear. There's no such scarcity is an illusion. It is manufactured. It is manufactured by those who are still on the old paradigm and think that there's something to gain in a world that actually has unlimited resources if we intelligently harmonize with them. If we try to hoard them and exploit them for our own gain, well, we'll exhaust them. It's the goose that laid the golden egg. We'll kill the goose. But this is not golden eggs. This is that which sustains life on the planet. But for me, the need is for us to discover who we are, and that when really the life on the entire planet is quite literally threatened, not just human beings, but we have the potential to bring everything with us. Facing that kind of cataclysm, one begins to really start taking note and wondering, what in the world? Who are we? When you run out of moves, what do you do? When you've gone beyond what our institutions and our cultures can deal with, when we've hit the limit of the human capacity, either we die out like other species have done before, or something completely brand new emerges. I'm hoping for the latter. I'm hoping for the latter, right? But there's no guarantee. Right? So why wouldn't we be more, engaged in politics and all that kind of stuff? Well, I encourage people to get involved. I encourage people to think. I encourage people to research, to not take anything at face value. Don't trust the media, right? But the deeper, everybody on the planet has been brought to a place where the only place to go is in. To really begin to take seriously this gift of being born a human, this gift of our capacity to to examine our own selves, examine our assumptions. Remember, the whole world is operating under a story. The whole world is operating under a set of assumptions. Right? Now, if those assumptions aren't true, it's going to our assumptions create our perception of the world, right? And that's all we ever experience of the world. Right? So all our assumptions about ourselves, about each other, primarily about ourselves, but based on ourselves, we have assumptions about others. We have assumptions about what things are, what's right, what's wrong. We shift our assumptions, but we never really question them to the depth. Satsang is about questioning the biggest assumption of all, and that is who you are. Right? Are you nothing more than a body with a mind inside, or just a body that happened to evolve a mind? Are you nothing more than the set of beliefs that you have, the circumstances you've experienced, the conditioning you've gone through? Is there anything more to you? Well, the answer is yes. There is, but it needs to be discovered. It's not enough to substitute one idea of yourself for another, a better idea. It's simply not enough to do that. That's kind of self-help and self-improvement and all that, which is okay, right? which is all right, but it doesn't get to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter is, who are you? Right? Everything has to revolve around that question. Even when we do meditations and the like, and I have you start with your breath and then begin to move inward, the point of it isn't to calm the body or to have some kind of special experience. The point of it is to clear away everything that isn't you, so that you may discover what is you. And this is one of the paradoxes about spiritual inquiry. You're not a thing that you can know. It's not something you can point out, that is what I am. It's way too subtle. It's way too subtle for that. It's the kind of thing that, and because you can't just know it, you can't just pick up another nice idea. Instead, you need to free yourself from everything that's obviously not you, right? And then what you are truly simply appears, because everything else has been cleared away. If you dispense with everything that isn't you, there's only one thing you can't dispense with, and that's you. And the great mystery is that it's what you've been this entire time. I keep trying to find words for it, to point at it. Right? But it's just that simple sense of your own existence without anything extra added onto it. So let me say hello to people here for a bit, see what questions have popped up. John Sheehan, sun-drenched Ireland, that's great. Rosario in Spain, Arlene in Connecticut. Arlene, Connecticut, glad to have you back today. Ava, my dear Ava in Poland. Cheryl in Pennsylvania, very, very, very hot. Dave and Elaine in Southeast England. Robbie in Romania. Mary in Niagara Falls. Ursula, Madeira Island. Tomas in Poland, wonderful to have you. Is it possible to live without paying attention to thoughts at all? My thoughts are mostly fear-driven. and made it on time. Kiljit in London. Um, and then good question. And then Tomas is answering Cheryl's question about just keep paying attention to your breathing for 10 hours. Not really. It's not enough to simply replace something that keeps grabbing your attention and just keep putting it on something else, right? That is a form of meditation, but it won't take you all the way. And in fact, it's not actually possible to do. Even Buddha couldn't do it. The nature of attention of itself is to wander, and there's no way you can go through an entire day with your attention completely focused on one thing. Now, these days, our attention is quite scattered. So learning how to focus and hold your attention somewhere is certainly a useful skill to have. You know, artists do it, musicians, all sorts of people do it who have to create some kind of a product. But that kind of focused attention is it's a yogic technique for meditation and the like. It won't take you all the way, simply because it is a technique. It's something that you are doing, and it is an act of trying to control things. It's much easier and much simpler to simply lose interest in what it is the mind keeps going to. Now, how you do that is that there's a reason why attention keeps going back. You're saying your thoughts are fearful. All right. So fearful thoughts come up. That's perfectly normal. It comes up for everybody. So when that thought comes up, right, what does it mean to you, right? What happens? A fearful thought comes up. There's a feeling in the body of fear, right? Now, that feeling of fear isn't real, right? Because there's really nothing immediately threatening you. And the body is very much in this moment, right? Nothing threatened, the body's relaxed. Something threatens the body, the body reacts to it. But because of the nature of consciousness as it's developing, and the mind is developing, an image in the mind can trigger exactly the same effect in the body in terms of a fear, as if it was actually something genuinely threatening the body. And that's why it feels like it's real, right? Even when it isn't. It's just a thought. Now, there's a variety of ways to get to it. First off, is the fear real? Right? Is there actually a fear, something to be afraid of right here and right now in this moment? Right? Fear usually, at least in our modern world, fear usually arises out of some anticipated future. It's an image of something that might happen. And of course, that's also the source of anxiety, because if it might happen, it hasn't happened yet, so you can't actually do anything about it, right? Which makes the body feel powerless, which increases the fear. And there's this idea that I have to do something about it. So the first thing to do is simply bring your attention back to this moment right now. Now, this isn't trying to make the thoughts go away. It's simply, we're actually finding out if they're true, right? Is there actually something threatening me that I feel afraid? Okay, so just sit with that. Now, at times like that, it can be very useful, and I often start my meditations this way, by bringing your attention first to the breath. Take a couple of deep conscious breaths, and then bring the attention into the body, right? To get in touch with what is actually happening right here and right now. What's actually being felt. Now, if there is fear being felt, the attempt to try to get away from it, right, is a reaction to it and will only increase it. Right? There's all sorts of things that are going on. There's all sorts of reasons fearful thoughts can come up. We're being bombarded with them in the media all the time. Not to mention, we've all been trained into having fearful thoughts and acknowledging them. We're all taught about the the virtue of life insurance and playing it safe and taking off your shoes at the TSA and all of that. There's so much information, and so it's so enculturated into us about always worrying about the future. You can see that there's a habit of thought that's involved. Now, if I completely go along with that habit of thought, how do I get rid of these fearful thoughts, or fighting with them, or avoiding things because of the fearful thoughts? I just keep feeding them, right? So I have to take a step back. I have to take a step back, far enough back that you become aware of the fearful thoughts and you aware of the fearful thoughts, right? Now, if you're just aware of them, if you're identified with they're my thoughts, I have to get rid of them, that's an identification with them. That will actually increase them. But if you recognize that I'm here and I am looking at these fearful thoughts, right? So fearful thoughts are arising, right? I'm aware of them, right? But are those my thoughts? Now, if I say, oh, it's my thought, I've identified with them, what actually happens is there's you're aware of something in the environment, but an event taking place in an environment can be within your own mind, right, will trigger a conditioned response in the nervous system. And that conditioned response in the nervous system is to basically create a person in that moment, takes ownership of those fears, and now engages an entire story about those fears. Now, where are you? You who are aware of fear, fearful thoughts, and fearful feelings are not the same as those fearful feelings. If you were, you wouldn't be there before they came. And when they came and when they left, you'd be gone too. But they come and go, and you're still here. The only way to truly, completely transcend fear is to know yourself as the consciousness that is aware of it. Let go of your resistance to it, because it isn't actually yours. Matter of fact, no fear belongs to you. Consciousness is afraid of nothing. Why would it be? It's untouchable. It was never born. It's never going to die. That is, you were never born. You are never going to die. You've always been the conscious awareness. The scene in front of you has changed constantly, but you yourself have not. So which is you? The one in the picture who's reacting or freaking out, or the one who is sitting back and watching it? My mission here is to bring your sense of I out of engagement, the active connection to what's happening in the nervous system and in the senses and all that, and bring that sense of I back to the place of the fully aware witness. That's the only way it's going to happen. You can sedate it for a time, right? Through all sorts of things, through physical means, drugs and that sort of thing. You can discipline yourself to put your attention elsewhere. You can do the law of attraction thing, which is to make yourself think good thoughts, right, and put them out, which is effective because they are habits, right? I mean, it's not like it's completely bogus, but none of those approaches are the permanent solution, because none of them reveal who you are. The permanent solution is always self-awareness. It is always coming to self-realization. If you know who you are, right, not what left can touch you. You can only be tricked by what you're not. And the biggest trick we have, it's self-tricking, is identification with the body. So when the body feels something, we take it as my feeling. right? But most of those feelings are nothing but reactions to the environment and conditioned patterns. And they don't actually belong to you as consciousness. They're not inherent. They're not connected to you. And you can tell that because they come and go and you don't. So they're a temporary aberration. They're a temporary moment. So if you just be willing to sit as consciousness and let whatever feelings or thoughts that are there be there without taking any position whatsoever. You're not trying to get rid of them or fight them off. You're not trying to reframe them or change them to anything else, but you're not following the narrative. You're not engaging with them. You're simply watching. That is the most powerful place you can possibly be. And you'll find that that is the place that already is fearless. Fearless. Fear may arise to it temporarily, right? If all of a sudden you hear a loud noise right next to your head, the body will react. Right? That's what it does. That's not a problem. Right? So this is the more you're recognizing who you actually are, the less power these habitual patterns of thought have. And the ones that are just, the broadcast nonsense that's all around us today, these days. Does that help, Cheryl? And thanks for your help, Tomas. Daryl says hello. Hello to you, Daryl. Sarah. Hi, lovely G. Hi, lovely Sarah. Happy to be here with everyone. Sarah in France. Sue. Let's see. Hi, GP. Looking forward to tonight. Thank you for your beautiful wisdom. I'm soaking it up. Love, Sue from South Africa. Hello, Sue. Good to see you. Alessandra. Hello, Alessandra. Good to see you. Arlene, how is it possible to have where did it go? Where did it go? Oops. Sorry. I keep pressing buttons here I'm not supposed to press. How is it possible to have everything I desire while everyone else gets what they want at the same time? Well, fortunately, we don't all want the same thing at the same time. And as you can tell, there's a couple of things there. Number one, the thing there is that somehow there's a sense that getting what I desire is going to make me happy. Yeah, having everything I desire will make me happy. Secondarily, while everyone else gets what they want, you can hear in that there is a sense of scarcity there, like somehow there's not enough to go around. We're struggling with not enough to go around because there's many people who are so unsatisfied, such hungry ghosts that they just want more and more. I mean, there's the, Bill Gates, Bezos, Jeff Bezos, is that his name? The Koch brothers. It's completely unsatisfied. More. It's an addiction. It's an addiction to having more, and they want to have it keep and everybody else have less, right? So I'd question that desire to have everything that you want, right? Everything that you desire. You've probably had the experience of your life of getting something that you desire, and then very quickly finding, oh my God, I really didn't want that. That hot guy or something, or all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, what a mistake. A week later you're selling it on eBay. You just can't wait to get rid of it. So I prefer to take the approach of growth and wisdom. Now, I'm not an ascetic, right? We shouldn't have any desires. We shouldn't get what we want, that sort of thing. But when the focus is on that, it is inevitably a projection of happiness onto some object, right? And then the inevitable sense of discontent that will be there until that object is attained. That satisfaction in the object will be short-lived, maybe a very short time, maybe a little bit longer. And and then eventually something else will arise to take its place. The nature of life is to generate desire. So, first off, there's no such thing as scarcity. Right? There's no such thing as limitation. We're not, nothing is truly finite. Right? Now, that doesn't mean we can be flippant or we can be wasteful or stupid or anything like that. We still have to cherish and love what we have. And that's a really great place to start. If we truly love and cherish what we have, that sense of needing more will not be big. Right? There's an openness to having more, but there's no necessity of having more. Right? The true satisfaction of desire is a transcendence of desire. Now, when I say transcend, I don't mean you get rid of desire. There's many religious practices where I have to not have any desires, right? I'm going to conquer all my desires, take a vow of celibacy or a vow of poverty or all sorts of different kinds of things and transcend those desires. That was the tact Buddha took, Siddhartha took before he became the Buddha, became a huge ascetic. Just nothing, no desire, no fulfillment of anything. Didn't wash, didn't cut his hair, ate almost nothing. Right, it was just completely worn away to nothing. And he realized that it did absolutely nothing for self-realization. All it did was torment the body, and there was no spiritual gain in it. Right. So the opposite side is equally wrong. The unbridled pursuit of your desires, which is, fundamentally the law of attraction community, Abraham Hicks. That's the whole meaning of life, is to have one desire after another and get it. That's the whole purpose of life. But on the other side is the total ascetic, where you shouldn't have any desires, complete self-denial, all of that, where sackcloth and ashes and that sort of thing, which still exists in, Mennonites and Amish and a variety of places where they lead a very austere lifestyle. Right. So where's the flow? Where's the middle point? Where's the middle point? Well, the middle point is a sense of innate inner happiness. Right? Because what are we really desiring? When every desire comes up, what are we really desiring? Happiness. And the desire, a feeling of desire, is for most is a feeling of discontent, a discontent that doesn't know how to look inside for the source of the discontent, and thus the source of true contentment. And so that discontent projects contentment, happiness, whatever quality it is, wealth, success, or abundance, on some external object, and then begins the pursuit of it. That's materialism in a nutshell. So the practice, now again, I'm not denying desire. It's not so simple as I just deny all desires, because the desires are very natural in us. Our desire for companionship and intimacy, our desire to be safe, that's a very powerful desire, and you cannot deny it, right? So how do we bring ourselves back to knowing whether what we're desiring is achievable or not? Buddha never said that desire was a mistake, or that desire was the cause of suffering. The desire for something that doesn't exist is the cause of suffering. A desire I can fulfill doesn't cause me any suffering, right? If I have a taste for a cappuccino, I can get a cappuccino, right? If I can't, it's no big deal, right? It's just a momentary thing that comes and goes. But a desire for something I cannot get, and the desire for something you cannot get is happiness in an object. You can't get it. There is no happiness in any object, any possession, in any relationship, in any state of mind, in any experience, in any teaching. It's not there. So no matter what you acquire, it won't give that to you. If I have a desire for a relationship, I can have that relationship. That's a desire that can be filled. Now, if I think that relationship is going to make me permanently happy, right, that desire cannot be fulfilled. And what we all really strive for is a happiness that doesn't cheat on us. It's simply a contentment. Right? In that contentment, desire can arise. It'll either be fulfilled or not fulfilled, but your contentment won't be affected. So where does contentment lie? Contentment lies simply in that sense of being, which has no need or desire for anything other than itself. Ultimately, the ultimate desire is to simply know who you are, is to be yourself. We're all desiring to simply be ourselves, to be content with simply being myself, and find that that self is complete. It needs nothing. It has everything, but it needs nothing. And this is true for everyone, right? There's no limit to consciousness. It's not like somebody has more access to somebody else. I'm kind of addressing your second question. While everyone else is getting what they want, how can everybody get what they want at the same time? Because the true need, the true desire, is in infinite supply. Everybody wants exactly the same thing, happiness. The other stuff is peripheral. Because if I have a want for something and I can get it, great. I have an emotional experience with that, right? But if I'm after the emotional experience, it's not going to last. Everything is going to sag once again. And where I'm going to be, I'm going to be back trying to get it again. But if there's already a baseline of peace and contentment, a desire arises. If I'll either let it do it or not, it'll get fulfilled or not, but it has no effect on my eternal peace, which is what I really, really want. Don't you? Isn't that what we're really here for? Nothing in this world lasts. We should really get that. We have, in the West, especially in the United States, going back all the way to the after World War II, especially into the 50s and into the 60s, this idea of consumerism, the idea of you are satisfied by what you have, and it's just been an onslaught. And it's gotten to the point where it's destroyed climates, it's destroyed cities. There's places that are, Detroit, Camden, New Jersey, they're a disaster, right? Why? Because of this insatiable desire, a desire that can never be fulfilled. And culturally, it's become an ideal. It's become the way we think, so that even our religions are about it. I know for a fact Christ did not come here to make us all rich, as a lot of preachers say. That you're supposed to have all these things, and God will give you all these stuff, and these, televangelists, worth 100, 500, $750 million, almost a billionaire. It's like, it makes no sense. And I'm digressing. When there's no attachment, when a desire, the fulfillment or dissolution of a desire has no effect on your well-being, they will just come and go, and they will have their own life, because they're part of life, right? Just like eating and breathing and growing hair, it's all part of life. It has absolutely no effect whatsoever on your happiness, right? But these desires, they do, simply because we have been deluded into thinking that we're going to get something from them that doesn't actually belong to them. You can't get happiness from a car. You can't get happiness from any possession. That kind of happiness, you can get an elation from it, but not happiness. Happiness, you only be happy with you. When you're happy with you, then there's you've got you, right? You have the one thing that fulfills your happiness, which you've had and you've always had. And you'll be happy with you when you know who you are, this pure awareness. Does that help, Arlene? Or did I go off on something on you? I mean, you may have wanted a much simpler answer, but it's a big one. And I'm forever looking for the middle way between just the rampant consumerism, which is just get more and more and more and more and more, and the asceticism, which is just renounce, 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 renounce. There's a middle way. There's a flow. There's a fulcrum in this that fulfills the needs of life, but doesn't make one's internal well-being dependent upon any condition. That then you're living in eternity. Lovely. Thank you. Let's see. Hello, Barbara. Good to see you. Curious observer. Thomas, sorry for flooding the end. It's okay, Thomas. John Watson, hi from Glasgow. Hi to you, sir. Arlene, how do we balance having desire? Oh, I forgot to say hello to Anja. Hello, Anja. In Germany, how do we balance having desire with accepting what is? Also, once you consciously get that I am that, then what next? That's the mind trying to figure it out. First, focus on getting that I am that, all right? Just focus on that. Forget about what happens afterwards, right? That it's all speculation, and it's not like you can plan. One of the nice things about the awakening process is the plans kind of fall away, and there's this wonderful childlike sense of being surprised all the time. I mean, it's really quite wonderful. The balance is simply recognizing that desire is a function of life. It's natural to life, but it's not a personal possession and it's not a personal responsibility. The desire comes with the energy to fulfill itself. From our perspective, desire is out there looking for something, but the reality is desire and fulfillment are two sides of the same coin. And sometimes the only thing a desire really does for you is kind of stir up the inner environment for growth. Right? So a desire is something that naturally arises, right? So how do you say, how do you have a desire while accepting what is you simply accept that the desire is present and the desire is for something, right? Now, if it is at the root of all desire is the desire to get what you are, to get that you are that, right? That's at the root of every desire, right? That doesn't mean a sage is without desire, right? They do arise, but they take no personal ownership with them. It doesn't matter whether they fulfill themselves or not. So you simply allow it to be there. It's a part of life. It's like, it rains, right? You don't have to accept allow rain and accept what is, right? I mean, it's what is. Right? Remember, life without desire would simply end. It would end a week. How long would it last if you just didn't feel like eating anymore? You just laid there. Everything laid there. Every critter on the planet just laid there, right? Everything, the problem is that we think that desire is a personal possession. It has some kind of personal, you have some kind of personal responsibility for it, and that it holds out something that you don't actually have. That belief about a desire turns us into into slaves to those desires, right? Because the promise of the desire is it's going to deliver something to you that you don't have. They don't, right? They don't deliver the one thing you truly want, happiness, that can only be found here. It can only be found as your very nature. Now, finding that happiness as your very nature, that is what it means to get that I am that, right? Because there's nothing left to get. There's nothing left to get. The desire is no longer personal. You, conscious awareness, don't have any need for anything. You are complete and whole. Now, the body mind may still have some needs. You're still going to do stuff, get some entertainment. That stuff will continue, right? But it's not the same. It's not like there's somebody there trying to get something. The one trying to get something is a fabrication of the mind. Consciousness is the source and substance of everything. It is the pure potential of being. So it is everything. You are everything. How can I put this in such a way that it just kind of... Just notice, that even as you're listening to me right now, right? And just put aside for the fact that your mind is trying to follow what I'm saying, is putting other thoughts together, putting the whole, just put everything aside for right now. Just drop everything, right? Completely empty. Even the desire to get the question, or what happens after I'm, even the question, just put them aside for a moment. Just completely empty. Nothing. No question, no desire, nothing, right? You're just here. Just you. No engagement with what might happen or what's going to happen next, or am I going to get question answer, or is this enlightenment? Nothing. No thought at all. And notice that the body's there, sensations are happening, right? But no thoughts about them. Nope, not trying to grab anything, push anything away. You're just here. You're just kind of like completely transparent. Everything can just come and go. Right? The thought comes, I really need this answer. Just drop it. Just drop everything. Empty, empty. Pure shunyata, emptiness. And what's left? Just gets quiet, doesn't it? Is there discontent here? Now notice, if a discontent arises, isn't it just kind of a vibration being seen? Don't hold on to it. Just let it come. Let it go. Just drop everything. Everything you can drop. And what's left? Just you. That just you is what we call consciousness. That's the word. This is what that word means. It's not an abstraction. It means just you, without anything else. Just yourself. Now, that doesn't mean you don't engage with life, right? Life is happening, right? But this inner space where you're not picking anything up, what remains? Just yourself. And aren't you aware? You're aware of yourself. You're aware of having dropped stuff. That's pure awareness. You, without anything else added, is this great mystical pure awareness that people call enlightenment. That's it. Nothing over the top. So simple. all we did was step out of the seeking for a minute. And when you stepped out of the seeking, what was left? You can't step out of you. And you're what remains. And just look at it. Is there anything missing here? It's so simple. It's so simple. You just drop everything. Just for a moment. You can pick it up later. Even the questions. Curious observer. How about going close to those fearful thoughts and examine them? Yes, referring back to Cheryl. If by that you mean you simply are present with them, right? Behind all fearful thoughts, behind everything, there's a certain kind of energy pattern, right? Examining them, like, and analyzing them. Why am I afraid? Is this reason why I'm afraid? Is this going to happen, or this might happen, or this because I happened as a child and I'm projecting on it? I find that if you approach that with the mind analytically, you kind of get wrapped up in your shorts. But if you're simply present with them, without engaging, without pushing them away, right? That you're just present with whatever happens to be here, right? And when you're present with whatever happens to be there, without taking sides, you're standing in the place of the pure witness, which is the peacemaker. Right? And at that point, if there is an energy that needs your attention, it can come to the surface. And if not, if the only thing that has been sustaining a set of thoughts is your attention to them, right? They will simply dissipate because they're not engaging you. You're aware of them, but they're not engaging you. They become like a radio playing, in another room. You notice it, but it doesn't get your attention. Right? That is, it doesn't get your active engagement with them. So there's an act of courage, actually fearlessness, in moving towards fearful thoughts, and it's a legitimate approach, right? I invite people to always start with simply allow everything to be as it is. Whatever's here, just let it be here, and really get practiced at this yoga of allowing, right? So that you don't get pulled out of center, right? Even the motivation to try to fix the thoughts or get rid of the thoughts is a form of engagement with them. Have no agenda whatsoever. Drop everything, right? To drop everything means you simply take your hands off. If they stay, fine. If they go, fine. That's of no moment. Your only focus is to be the absolute empty center. And of course, emptiness can't be touched, can it? And that really is your nature. John says, hi, GP. Hi, John. Micah Lighthouse. Hi, Micah. Hi from Sydney. Cold and starry. Early Monday. Oh, my goodness. That's right. It's Monday morning there already. Kumal, greetings from India. Hello. Hello to you. Let's see here. Thomas says, GP, how avoid fear when I feel empty inside? How to keep it for longer? The state is so intense. Is this a matter of habitation, of habit? It's always very short 10 to 15 minutes max. Yes, the habit energy that brings fearful thoughts or any kind of thought, any repetitive thought to the surface is habit. But what sustains the habit is our attention to it. Right? And I don't mean just taking your attention and putting it somewhere. I mean engagement with it. If it's in your attention, it's in your attention. You don't try to, right? The very act of trying to pull it away means you've set up a relationship to it, and now you're trying to get rid of it. Right? Very intense feelings can come up. Right? The question is, where are you and who are you? Right? To whom are these intense feelings appearing? Right? Well, they're appearing to me. Are they me? Or are they just appearing to me? No, they're not me. If they were me, I wouldn't be here until they arrived. And when they left, I'd go too. So they're not me. They're a momentary thing that's happening. And that's it. Now, you need no more story for it. It's a momentary feeling. It's arising. It's going to go away. So what does it require of me? Nothing. If I desire it to go away, I've created a relationship with it now, and now I'm engaged with it. I'm either engaged with indulging, clutching, grabbing onto, being attached to my desires and the fulfillment of my desires, and for that you do this, or I'm averse to it. I'm pushing away. It's fearful. I want to get rid of it. Right? That feeling of wanting to get rid of it is part of it. Right? Now, just take all the steps back you need to notice that it is just a feeling that's appearing without any story or any intention or any interpretation of it. It's just a feeling. Where did it come from? I don't know. Doesn't matter. If it wants to tell me where it comes from, fine. Right? If I want to find out where it comes from, I've established a relationship. Right? We're now buds. Right? We're hanging. Right? So instead, you simply see it. But where are you? Right? You're the emptiness. And the emptiness, you mentioned feeling empty inside. That's not the same. The sense of emotional bereavement, of just kind of feeling lackluster or anything, that's not the emptiness. This emptiness is no feeling at all. It is the background that allows feeling to happen. Right? Without this silent background, without this field in which a vibration of a feeling could arise, right, they couldn't exist. Right? So it's a momentary vibration in the field of pure awareness. Right? So it isn't any threat, right? The vibration of a guitar string is not a threat to the string. It's what the string was meant for, right? So don't even try to keep it for longer. Because if you're trying to keep it, you have established a relationship with it. It has become an enemy. You've created a conflict, and now you're trying to keep in the state to make it go away, right? Drop all of it. You don't need any relationship with it whatsoever. It's just happening. Any more than you need a relationship with the wind or with the growing of your hair. You don't engage with the growing of your hair. It just grows, right? It gets a certain length, you cut it, right? Or you let it go, right? If you can get a haircut, I can't anymore. So, right? So the ultimate freedom you seek is not the freedom where the feelings don't happen. It's the freedom that you are totally unaffected whether they do or not. That's freedom. That's transcendent freedom. You've transcended any condition. There has to be no condition, one or another, in order for you to have the sense of well-being. If some condition is needed, you have established a relationship with it. You've established a dependency on it, which means you're not free. Freedom means purely unconditional of yourself and of nothing else. Does that help, Tomas? So don't try to keep it. You can't keep anything. Right? I've heard stories about yogis going into samadhi for weeks, right? Just pure bliss. But what happens? They come out of it, right? the true sages, they said, that's not it. That kind of samadhi that you go in and out is not it. Right? What's it? You without anything extra added. The consciousness that's already here. The consciousness that in which your question to me arose, and the consciousness in which the answer to that question arose. It's the same consciousness. So we drop the conflict we have with our own feelings and states. And the only reason we have a conflict is because they've taken on a meaning they don't really have. We think, I'm enlightened if I don't have any fear. Not true. Right? You're enlightened when the fear comes and goes and it has no effect on you. It's just a ripple, an event that takes place. That's genuine. That's just genuine freedom. And the intensity of what might arise is directly in proportionate to our resistance to it. No resistance, the intensity can't last, right? It has to hook into something, right, to give it juice. Remember, no thought, feeling, or sensation is self-sustaining. They don't have any energy. You do. If they can get your energy, they're sustained. If they can't, they're not. Right? So it all comes back to where you put your attention based on your belief. And that attention can be, I want to get rid of it, or I want more of it, right? But that's establishing a relationship. And the underlying belief is, if I get more of it, I'll be happier. Or if I get less of this, I'll be happier. It's always, I'm not happy because, no, you're only not happy because you've looked somewhere else other than here for happiness. And then you find, drop everything, right? And there's that quiet contentment. That's true happiness. I'm not talking about the emotional happiness. That's there to be experienced. Of course, we have great experience and ecstasy and bliss and all sorts of great things. They're fine, right? But they come and go, right? And they can only come and go and be experienced against this absolutely still background of pure contentment. Thank you, Thomas. Or Tomas, I guess it would be pronounced, right? Arlene, in response to your previous answer, there is this feeling that having it all, living a truly magical life, heaven on earth, is somehow wrong. How to transcend this? Yeah, right. I mean, there's some that's what they live for, that this is the whole purpose of life and this is the meaning of life. And others say, no, you shouldn't have that, wanting to have it all. You don't really want to have it all. You want to have exactly what you want, right? So we say, have it all, right? Which simply means, the positive side of that idea is that what it really means is to not put a limit on ourselves, to not tell ourselves, I can't have that for any reason whatsoever. Of course you can, right? Let me say, I can't have that, right? And this is all unconscious, subconscious stuff, right? There's a heaven. Everyone wants a magical life, right? Of course we do. We want a full, rich, magic. We want the fullness of experience. We want to taste the honey, right? As Muji likes to say, we want to taste the honey. We don't want to be the honey, right? We're here to taste experience. The problem is we've been conditioned to think that this tasting of experience we want to experience is all the good stuff. Well, you cannot taste experience without the contrast. You cannot have bliss without grief. You can't. It's not possible. If you did, it would cease becoming bliss. It would just become a background and there'd be no experience in whatsoever. You absolutely have to have contrast in order to have experience at all, right? Pure white light, right? No color is not an experience. It can't be seen. It's totally invisible, right? It has to be partially blocked. Some of it has to be blocked, absorbed, and not reflected, right? In order for color to appear. We can only see light in its incompleteness, in its contrast. We can't see it as a whole, right? So start simply with, I want to be happy. Because that's all the living the truly magical life, heaven on earth. That's all it means. Happy. I want to be happy, right? Start with that. Now, is there anything inside of you that says that's wrong? Right? Yeah, there may be some things say, the truly magical life would mean I had a big, 3,000 square foot house on the ocean or something like that, right? Then something inside may react to that and go, well, that's not right for you to have. And there are people starving in Pakistan and on it goes. All sorts of old thoughts can start coming up around that. But if you just make it really simple, I really want to feel happiness most of the time. I want a contentment with my life. Now notice there isn't as much resistance to that, is there? And then you can just kind of look inside a little bit more and say, okay, that's actually what I want. I've got these ideas of how I might have it. If I have this, and there's other parts of me that don't like that, don't think that's a very good thing. I'm not sure those are trustworthy voices, but I'm not really sure whether this voice that my magical life means a 3,000 square foot house in Cape Cod or something, right? I'm not sure I trust that voice either. Okay, but I do trust this one. I want to be happy, and however that manifests in my life. Now notice what a beautifully neutral, peacemaking position that is. You don't have to lobby for anything, and you don't have to fight against the opponents of your lobbying, right? It's a simple question inside. Okay, this happiness, this experience of the magical life, I'm just going to let myself be open to having that experience, right? And then simply let yourself be open to it, and you may find that you'll find yourself seeing magic, little bubbles of magic all around you right now. And then when a desire comes up, says, I really want that, right? And another thing comes up and says, yeah, but you can't have that. Don't take sides, right? Don't say, I want heaven on earth, right? But this other thing tells me it's wrong. I need to get rid of that. If you do that, you've created a relationship with it, you've gotten yourself in conflict with it, and now you're taking inner sides. Part of you, which may have a legitimate reason to say, no, that's not a good thing for you, right? May not be legitimate, but you can't just make it go away. It's there. It's part of you, right? So don't take sides, right? Yeah, there's a desire for a certain thing. Let it be there. Now, simultaneously, there's a resistance to it. Let that be there. Don't take sides. And you just kind of sit back and go, you know what, you guys figure it out. Now, if you're following me as you do that, notice how you're feeling. You're stepping out of the inner conflict. When you step out of inner conflict, there's no conflict. What's the word for no conflict? Peace, which is another word for contentment. Everything's okay the way it is. Your inner life, the desire, resistance, all this stuff, it'll work it out. They're both there. You don't have to fight with anybody. You don't have to hold on to anything. You just simply say, however it works out is fine with me. You guys work out the details. It creates such an inner environment of safety that a harmony begins to emerge. These forces that seem to be so in opposition to each other begin to harmonize. And harmony is another word for heaven, by the way. And the moment, Arlene, you have stepped into this place of not taking sides, where everything is okay, that's transcendence. That's how you transcend it. Right? You don't transcend it by getting rid of the arguer. You transcend it by the arguer being embraced. And now the arguer can state his case, right? You shouldn't have because of this, this, and this. Oh, okay. But what about this? Oh, didn't think about it. Well, that would be okay. It becomes just the whole course I do on inner reconciliation, which is, I don't know how many hundreds of hours of videos it is, but it is all about negotiating this inner territory, because there's no voice inside of you that's a problem, right? They're there for a reason, right? And so we want to bring them to the party. We want to reconcile with them, not fight. Is that helping? Oh, I see a little bit further on. I feel happy most of the time, and daily do it feels inspired, but playing and frolicking doesn't pay the bills, or it hasn't thus far. Right. So, let's see. Okay, good. Yeah. Yes, I know. So just take that into account, right? Let that be there too. Some part of you has to pay the bill, but if you have a period of times to play and frolic, well, just really relish those, right? And just keep looking inside for ways in which life can become more free from dependence upon external commitments and obligations, free from whatever is keeping us from experiencing our deepest happiness, right? There's no reason why you can't be playful and frolicking and happy while you're doing whatever you need to do to pay the bills, right? I mean, look, I love doing this, right? This is playful and frolicking for me. But in addition, I have to write emails, and I have to maintain technology, and I have to set up equipment, and a lot of stuff that isn't really feel like playing and frolicking, but it just kind of comes with the territory. And maybe at some point I'll have a group of people around me, and I won't have to do all of it myself. But right now I do, so I do. Right? But and obviously there's some things that are more playful and frolicky than others, right? But that's okay. Just sometimes the song's in a minor key. It's still a song. John says, I know that I am awareness, but the ego still hangs out. Any advice how to squish the ego once and for all? Thanks, GP. Well, first thing is you can't squish an ego. You can't kill a cartoon character, right? Because they never existed, right? We've turned, in your particular case, you've turned the ego into an entity, like a little demonic energy in the system that is working against you. It does not exist other than your belief in it. You don't squish it. You see, it never existed. It's a ghost in the machine. It is an idea projected on the functioning of the nervous system, the natural functioning of the nervous system. So what you are seeing is, that you are awareness, right? And appearing in your awareness is experience, which of course it's going to, right? And also appearing in your awareness is this idea of the ego, this idea of another self with its own agenda and its all things. Is there an actual entity there, or is it just a thought? That's the question to ask yourself. Is there something actually there that I have to get rid of, right? Right? Do I actually have to get rid of these ghosts? Or do I have to realize there's no such thing? Some of you may believe in other light spirits and that sort of thing. It's a whole other question. Let's not go there right now, okay? The ego is not a sentient, self-aware entity. It's not an entity at all. It's a thought, right? Now, is there a problem when a thought arises, hangs out? Right? There's this feeling, there's an underlying belief that you have to be aware of, that somehow I'm not really aware or awake as long as this idea or thought or feeling of the ego keeps coming. It's not true. You are the awareness. If you weren't, it couldn't keep coming. To where would it come? It doesn't exist in and of itself. It's not self-aware. Right? It can only appear to awareness. So who are you? And if you're awareness, do you care? Does it matter whether an egoic thought arises or not? It's just a thought. If you turn it into something that has to be squished, you have created a battle. You've created a fight with a cartoon character. Or as I like to say, you're trying to strangle a puppet. Is that cleared up, John? It feels like that. It feels like you got it. Let me know if you didn't. Alessandra, I realized the difference between happiness and joy. Yes. The bliss that is referred to, Satchidananda, the bliss of awakening is peace, stillness, quiet. The Ananda, right? That's the kind of what you could call joy, right? That is just self-sustained. Whereas you could use the word happiness as an emotional reaction to an event, and sadness also, right? Happy, and they have to be opposites. If things go the way I like it, I call it happiness. I get what I want. Some desire is fulfilled. That's happiness, right? And that really is what it is. A desire is filled. We call it happiness. A desire is not filled. We call it sadness. Or we lose something. It's called sadness. Those are reactive, right? Whereas true joy, true contentment, true peace is not reactive. It's not a state that comes and goes. It's your nature. It's what is. It's a profound thing to realize there is a dimension to happiness. You can call it joy or you can call it contentment that is not conditional. And this is what we all really seek. This is what we're truly seeking, right? We've just been misled and mistrained to seek that kind of joy in the fulfillment of desire, right? The fulfillment of desire brings the fulfillment of the desire and emotional reaction to that fulfillment, which is nice. It's very pleasant, right? Can be quite ecstatic, actually, right? But is transient, is temporary, right? It has a beginning, has a middle, and has an end. Right? But the relentless pursuit of that has made us hold on to desires we really don't need anymore, mistake desires, right? Grab on to desires with our ego and define our lives around them, right? And miss the opportunity to find what's been here the whole time, which is you. Beautiful insight, Sandra. Thank you. Mary says, yesterday I was sitting at the dinner table and was listening to my husband's conversation. There was no negative stuff in but I saw that a wave type of energy passed through my field, made me feel like I was going to go off and get creeped out by the energy. Continued, huh? Let's see. I've had this happen before and followed down the rabbit hole, but this time I watched it come and go. It felt weird. What is this phenomena? Oops, did I lose you there? What is this? I also get these waves after waking early and then trying to go back to sleep. Waves come from every thought, just simple thoughts. Well, you say, what is this phenomena? It is a phenomena. I'm going to invite you to do something deeply profound, and the mind's not going to like it. Right? Don't try to figure it out. Don't be interested even in what it is. If it's important, it'll tell you. If it's not, it'll just come and go. You watched it come and go, right? And there was this weird feeling of weirdness, and now there's this memory, right? There's a memory of it now, and now the mind is trying to make something of this. Hey, what is this? It felt like it was trying to take me into a fear or about something, right? This is all the mind trying to get involved and create a story. Those of you who have taken my my chakra course or the inner reconciliation course, you know, I do a whole big long section on the storyteller mind. Right? You're watching it in action. Right? What happened? A wave of energy went through you. Might have been a bit unfamiliar. And then it went away. Gone. Now you remember, that has happened some other times. Right? And now the mind is trying to create a story. Remember, that's what minds do. They invent stories to explain phenomena, right? But the phenomena don't need explaining. If there really is some truth to it, it'll come to you. You don't need to figure it out. What was your experience? There was this energy, this emotion that came, this wave came over me, and then it went. Okay, let it go. If it's important, it'll be back. Believe me. Believe me. But what if it isn't important? You don't want to make a story out of it. What is this phenomena? That's what it was, a phenomena. You know, there are some feelings and energy patterns, stuff that we experience that are so subtle they don't have any names, which is good because the first step in a story is giving it a name. Right? The moment you give it a name, it becomes an object of mind, and then the mind starts creating stories about it. Right? No name, it's just a whoosh that went past. That's it. So don't follow it down a rabbit hole, because it is a rabbit hole. The rabbit hole is your mind trying to make it something, explain it, figure it out, put it in context, put it into its whole view of reality. You don't need it, right? As I said, if there's anything there you actually need, it will come. You need not do anything to get it, right? Notice how peaceful it is when you simply don't need to know. I don't need to know. I don't need to defend myself against it. I have no idea what it means. I don't need to stop it from coming. I don't even know where it came from. I don't need any of that. If it comes, fine. If it comes and has a long story it has to tell me, fine. Otherwise, a little zoop, a little burp of energy went through me. Nothing more. It's okay? Can you just let it go like that, Mary? Carrie says, hello, namaste. Carrie, I forgot where you are. Australia? I think you're in Australia. Amir in Boulder. Hi, Amir. Curious Observer, thank you so much. You're very welcome. Tomas says, thank you. You're very welcome. Vanyashi says, whoops, sorry for the class. Late for class. Yep, you're going to be marked down. Yeah. I'm going to send you to the principal's office for your note. Kuljit. Hello, Kuljit. When observing the part that feels unworthy, I also observe how this part has been creating the cycle. I'm not engaged with it, but I do find that I've been flipping between the observer and the self. Observer and self. Well, ultimately, the ultimate observer and the self are actually one and the same. There's just a sense, right, of when we get into the place of really pure allowing, pure witnessing, right? There's still a sense there of being of me witnessing. We've not yet realized that that is nothing but pure awareness and not a personal observer. But you'll notice that that underlying feeling of unworthiness, right, is a powerful energy that indeed creates the cycle. Because when that gets lodged in the nervous system as a belief, and we're not conscious enough to see that it's not true, and see that it's not true in such a way that we create an environment safe enough so the nervous system itself can see that it's not true, right? It's not enough for us to just see it. Then we're like forcing our will on it, and it just digs its heels in even more, right? But you become aware that the experiences you're having, reactive patterns, have a common root. And that common root is this underlying belief that I'm not enough. And this is not a belief of the mind, folks. This is a belief in the nervous system. I call them energetic assumptions because they're not conscious. They're not rational. They're an assumption made by the nervous system the way an animal would make assumptions about its environment. It's not reasoning or intellectual. It is purely on the level of reactive programmed response. And the better the nervous system does that, the better protected it is, which is why there's a great deal of power of doing it behind the need to do that. And as a result, layers and layers of behavior and layers of identity get created out of that to compensate for it, to compensate for what in fact is a very deep wound. So when you don't engage with it, and that means not pushing it away, right? That means not identifying with it anymore. I see this is in my nervous system, but not taking this position, I've got to get rid of it, right? When you don't take position, you're in the realm of the pure observer, the pure witness, the pure witness, and the witness that has a preference, right? We can get to the point where we're witnessing this happen. I now see the mechanism, but I really want to get rid of it. I really want to change this and fix this. I want this to be better. I want the better life, right? You're in the observer, but it's not pure yet, right? This is the observer with preference. This is the observer with an agenda. Right? You keep going and you keep going. You find this place that's pure observing, and it's remarkable to find that, and you have it. It's there. It's yours. it's actually deep within you. So when you're so that now when you're looking at it, there's this place of total equanimity, total love, right? Because you're not trying to get it to be anything other than what it is, right? And of course, that environment of love was what was missing that created that feeling of not being enough in the first place. If that environment had been there, that feeling of I'm not enough could not have arisen. There's no place for it to have come because it's not natural to you. It's not inborn in you. It's a reaction to an environment that is not loving. And so what we're doing is creating that primal, essential, loving environment. So the very same energy that said I'm not enough can go, oh, well, I'm loved. I love the phrase, I love myself anyway, right? Oh, I am loved. That's what a powerful message to send to this energy that's been holding on so tight, trying to protect you from from the whole world finding out you're really not enough, right? So all of a sudden the point is, oh, who cares? Love, I accept myself just as I am. It's just like, that's the pure observer. And just keep going a little bit further, you'll find that's the true self. This is actually the place from which you have been seeing it the entire time. Thank you, Kuljit. You're great. Oh, Arlene. Maybe you hit the nail on the head. There's a part of me that feels like it's wrong to be happy. Wow. Maybe old Christian stuff again. Yep. Yep. Did you mention last week you have a course, Busting Up Religious Paradigms? I'd love to experience that course. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Yes, I do have that course. Um, I've got a few things I need to finish on it. I did it once before, so there's a lot of material from before. I'm putting it up on my new platform. And when I finally launch it, I've got this retreat coming up, which I really want to have. We've got about 15 people in the retreat right now. It'd be really great. We have room. We have room for more. Just tell you about the retreat I'm doing. It's actually starts next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It'll be 2 hours a day in the retreat. Plus, right? It's sponsored by the Krishnamurti Education Center of Canada. It's really quite delightful that I get to do it through them. It's totally tax deductible donation. It's very reasonable. It's like $100 Canadian, which I think is like 60 something for euros or $70 US. But at any rate, it's all about self-inquiry. It's called self-inquiry, the merging of heart and mind. Right. And so I hope you guys will join me. And I hope you'll actually do it in such a way that you can dedicate as much of the weekend as you can to doing the self-inquiry, to really turn it into a retreat. I know we can't gather anymore, in places for a while, right? At least not in any kind of large numbers. So we have to do it online and create that space. So do your best to try to actually create the space, a retreat-like space for yourself in your own environment. So I hope you guys are joining for that. And the reason I said that is because after that, I will be launching the inner reconciliation energy techniques, the tapping coach training, which will be coming right after that and starting right at the end of July or beginning of August. After that, I have finished the new Yoga of Allowing, a series of 14 meditations and exercises for practicing allowing with yourself, which is kind of the doorway into the whole inner reconciliation thing. After that, I will be re-releasing and doing a workshop on Christian mysticism, which is it's learning to see the scriptures through the new tongue of spirit, what they really mean, not what we've been taught they mean, because they don't mean that at all. So that was the very long-winded answer to yes, there will be a course coming from that. It's 1, 2, 3, fourth one in line right now. So thank you for asking that. And if you guys can join me in the retreat. I mean, what I'm doing here in Satsang is I'm bringing self-inquiry. We're inquiring, who am I really? Right? I am not my body. I'm not my emotions. I'm not my thought. I'm not my conditioning. I'm not all these programmed responses. I'm not these thoughts in my head. I am not these recurring patterns. I'm not any of those things. Those are what I am experiencing. Who is the I? That's the meaning of self-inquiry. That's the goal of self-inquiry. So please join me. Wildcat Drums. Hello, Sean. Good to see you. You good? Been away. I'll be here next week properly. Busy at this second. Have a great week, my man. Oh, good to see you, my friend. Marvelous drummer. Love drummers. I'm still drumming. I have this inkling to play a drum set again. I can't go into any stores anymore because they're all closed. I don't know how they do that for people trying on instruments and the like, but I've had this real hankering to sit down and to kind of see if I could play a drum set again. It'd be very fun. I did that so intensely for so long. John Sheehan, smiling here at your answer. So obvious when you said it, No need to choke the puppet. Thanks so much. Looking forward to next week, the Canada retreat. Oh, you're going to be there. Wonderful. Great. Mary Sykes, thank you. Great answer. You're very welcome. I know Mary's very interested in the Christian mystic program as well. Sophia B, didn't listen to you for some time. Good to be with you again. Bit like coming home. Ah, wonderful, Sophie. Wonderful. Thank you. You're very welcome. Tatiana, hello, GP. Just joined. Wonderful. Hello. Mary, me too, Ariana. I would love to do that course. Yeah, I knew you would. Yes, the observer with a present preference. I see that happening in me. Thank you. Good. Wonderful. Now, notice. You see, I see that happening in me. That means that the observer with a preference is observable. What do you know? That means the observer with a preference is an actual subtle form, isn't it? It's a someone who has a preference. So that observer is actually being observed, isn't it? So what's observing that? You say, I see that happening in me. Who's that? Ooh. I want everyone to notice this, because you have to remember the ultimate perceiver can't be perceived. If it can, by who? The moment something comes into your view as being perceivable or observable, it's obviously not you. You're the one perceiving, right? Which means that the ultimate you, the self, can't be perceived. You cannot perceive yourself. You can only be yourself. How do you know that you are then? You just know. In fact, the knowing and the being are one. Knowing is being. There's not something knowing. If that was the case, there'd be something and something knowing and something known. And anytime anything appears in your perceptual field, it must be something you are perceiving. So it can't be you. Little by little, the need to define yourself as an object, that will also be seen and observed. And that impulse of the mind to try to find myself as something perceivable or conceivable will really fall away. The moment you notice that something, however subtle it is, and noticing the observer with a preference is a very subtle observation, because normally we see ourselves as the witness seeing that, right? We see ourselves as the witness, and then we're owning the sense of, I really want to get rid of this. I really prefer this. I really like that. And I'm aware of all of those preferences, right? But then on a more subtle level, there's something aware of the preference and of the one who has the preference. There's a sense, a very subtle sense of self there that prefers. And now all of a sudden, that comes into view as yet another form, another phenomena, another object of perception. Where are you? Who's the I that sees that? Does that have a preference for what it sees? That's pure awareness. That's the pure witness. But even there, you can still feel a slight sense of of being someone. But even that sense of being someone, who's now the pure witness, is also perceived, isn't it? Just keep looking like this. This is self-inquiry, by the way. What I just did, that's self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is this attempt to see what can't be seen, but in the process of trying to see what can't be seen, you are eliminating everything that can until you're right at the threshold. Lovely. Mr. Walsh, how do you dwell in a state? Let's see, Ashvara Pamulapati. God, I wish I had a cool name like that. G. Walsh. Ishvara Pamulapati. Wow, beautiful. How do you dwell in a state? I'm not 100% sure what your question is. Can I call you just Ashvarya? Are you talking about how do you dwell in the state of awakening, in the state of happiness? If you're looking for a particular state, that is, a happy state, a comfortable state, a feeling state, the self isn't a state. The true nature of your being is not a state, because even states come and go. They're subtle, right? Sometimes it could be an emotional state, right, which can be quite volatile and go up and down. But I think what you're probably talking about is this state of awareness, right? Well, you can't dwell in a state of awareness, right? Because now you are seeing yourself as something trying to dwell in the state of awareness, right? Awareness is not a state. It is what is. So you let go of all states, drop all states, drop trying to dwell in a state, stop looking for anything at all, and just be here, just you. That's not a state. That's you. That's the thing that experiences states, but it's not a state. Now, notice, it's absolutely stateless, which means it doesn't have any emotional content. It doesn't have any thought content, doesn't have any concepts or perceptions. It just is. Right? That's pure awareness. That's pure peace. That's an undisturbable peace because it simply is. It is not a state of peace that could be disturbed. It is the nature of truth itself. It is reality. And reality does not fluctuate. I'm going to just put it back to you to make sure. Is that what you were asking? Maybe you were just asking, how do you live in New Mexico? Hopefully I got that. Oh, Tatiana. Cheryl, do you have suggestions for creating a retreat-like environment at home for next weekend? I need someone to hide my cell phone. Yeah. that would do it. Turn off your cell phone, right? And even give it to somebody, right? See if you can give it to somebody, right? And say, please take it for the weekend, right? That's a wonderful thing to do. I know some of you working at home, there may be things you have to do, right? But anything you don't have to do, lay surrender to the altar of your awakening. Make the house, your home, neat, or at least the environment in which you are neat, uncluttered. You know, you're going to have a computer or something to be, to participate in, right? But keep the room as free of clutter as you possibly can, right? I mean, I like to light candles and incense, not necessary, that sort of thing. Be comfortable. And then when the workshop is over, put away the computer that you're watching on. Take off the headphones. Just be with yourself. Right? Watch, observe, be compassionate, love. And when something comes up, you go, to whom is this appearing? And really keep the question of who am I really just at the top of your heart. Right? If you have responsibilities you have to take care of them. Nothing extraneous, no entertainment. If participating, just see if you can get some space for a couple of days, that you really need some space. So please, as few interruptions as possible. It's a good partner, they'll honor you. They may even hide your phone for you. They'll honor it for you. But give it a sense of sacredness, right? If you want to play some music, play meditative music, calming music. Listen to bhajans. Those are kind of fun. But nothing that's just pure entertainment or distracting. Right? Just try to eliminate all of the distractions you possibly can, and keep quiet. Right? No emails unless they're absolutely necessary for work. No conversations with people, right? If you can, even stay silent as much as you can between the two of you. I noticed that David and Elaine have signed up. They're doing it as a couple. Now, obviously, there has to be some exchange going on. You live together, but try to just remain as quiet. And when there's a mutual agreement about that, you come together. You'll have your meals together. You'll do that, the normal kind of thing. But just do it as contemplatively as you possibly can, and that'll create a really nice environment. And in fact, you'll like it so much you probably want to keep going with it. At least have parts of that. Normally, obviously not the silence between partners, but just kind of doing everything. While on one hand, you're active, may be actively engaged, but there's also this other part that is aware of you. That's what Ramana Maharshi meant by self-abidance, right? Self-inquiry is get you there, but then there's this just sense of abiding as the self, just being yourself. Right? And this isn't out there, okay? When you drop everything and you just come to this place of I'm the awareness, right? It's not void, it's not empty, right? It's full, isn't it? It's full with all the things that are happening. But you do it as awareness. The I goes home. So I and awareness are one and the same thing. But in fact, awareness is prior to I. The absolute awareness is prior even to the sense of being, because that too, on a most subtle level, is perceived. And so it simply, it becomes the way you do make the retreat a practice for how you'd like to live your life. In Zen, you don't meditate to become a Buddha, you meditate as the Buddha. It is the Buddha meditating. Right? It is, you don't do something to become, you do it as. That's why it's a practice. Right? It is the Buddha meditating. Right now, it's the Buddha giving satsang. It's the Buddha asking the questions. It's the Buddha hearing the answers. Right? Because that's your true identity. Buddha simply means the awakened one. And you happen to be that one. So just make it a sacred event, right? How do you make something sacred, right? That's what Tantra is actually all about, right? It's not just about sex. It's about making everyday life sacred, right? So thank you all. And looking forward to having you guys there too. I'm really looking forward to this because there'll be a Zoom meeting. I actually get to see faces and talk to people. That's so exciting. I'm so excited about that. It's really nice when I have people sign up for private sessions and I actually get to have interaction. It's a little bit weirded out here, right? And in virtual land. Tart cherry, apple cider vinegar carbonated beverage. It's really good. Really like it. Arlene says, you spoke before about people wanting heaven but not God. How do we just purely fall in love with God? Well, find out who God is. It's like, how do I fall in love with somebody on Match.com? Well, you look at the pictures. Right? Don't turn it into a question. I gotta love God, because you can see that for most people, God was. But if you don't do exactly what He says, you're going to burn in hell forever and be eternally tormented. Right? But He loves you. I mean, that's like the stalking boyfriend, right? If I can't have you, nobody can, right? It's like, oh my God, that's Yahweh. That was the tribal god. It was a warrior tribe, right? And so it was a warrior god who was always angry because he didn't have a goddess. so poor guy never got laid. Oh boy, but a lot of people angry at me about that one. Anyway, that Jesus says wasn't really God. I've even said it to the Pharisees: you worship your god, the devil. That wasn't God. God is love, right? Who is God? How do you fall in love with God? Let go of everything right now, just like we did before. Drop everything. Questions, answers, ideas, concepts, desires, ambitions, memories, what we want to attain, what we want to be free of, even the desire to fall in love with God. Drop it all. What remains? That. Feel that? That's God. Is there anything unlovable about that? Is there any place you'd rather be? That's God. And you find that God and heaven are actually the same thing. Drop you. Now drop, everything you know about you, everything you identified with you, everything you thought was you. Drop it. What's left? You without you. Without all the ideas and memories and all that stuff. Just you. That's God. How do you do? The Western religions have turned God into a being, a creator with which you have a relationship. But the truth of God is God is immanent in creation, which means it's what you are. It is being itself. It is the I am. You have a sense of I am, a sense of being. That's God. Anything not likable about that? And you can see the idea of that being jealous or angry or wrathful or bitter or wanting to punish you or demanding your affection. Complete creation of the ego. You want to know God, you disappear. Simple as that. It's not the kind of thing, oh, I am God. That's the ego, right? There's no I, there's only God. You disappear, right? The moth loves the flame. And for the moth to be completely united with the flame, what happens? It becomes the flame. Thank you, Arlene. I love your questions. Kuljit, thank you for your answer. The observer doesn't have preference because it doesn't feel like truth, and that's what gives it away. Please do consider coming to London. I am looking at all sorts of different ways in which it'd be possible for me to move to Europe in some form, and I really want to. I really want to. I'm not sure I can afford London, but there's some other places around. But Europe is calling me. Anne says, because it doesn't feel like truth. Oh, no, that was Nan. Back to Clue. It doesn't feel like truth, and that's what yes. I think I understand what you're saying there. It gives it away because it's a preference. What gives it away is that a preference is an observable, perceivable thing. Now, you can let the preference be there. There's nothing wrong with preferences, right? I prefer, this kind of shirt. I prefer, apple cider vinegar. That's just natural. There's just no prefer. Right? We observe preference just like normal. Now, if there's nobody there that is owning that preference and wanting this over that, which creates, of course, conflict, well, then it can happen or not, and you're unaffected by it. And those times when you have your preferences, that's just part of life, right? But it ceases to be a problem anymore. It ceases to create any suffering. So now it doesn't matter. It's just a convention, and it doesn't matter. Right? We don't have to get rid of preference. That's impossible. That's impossible. And how bland life would be if we did, right? There's just no prefer. Right? It's just the functioning of life, and you remain absolutely pure, preference-free awareness that allows even preference to arise. Anne's coming. Yay, good to see you. Looking forward to seeing you. Ishvara, how do you dwell in a desired state? So I guess I did get right. I think I answered it for you. Yeah, don't seek any state because they're don't seek anything that's transient. It's that simple. Don't seek the impermanent, right? Because it's impermanent, right? It's eventually going to go away. So there's no value in seeking something that is going away, uh, right? We all know things come and go, and in everyday life, there's there's things we get, we want. I'm not talking about the normal conventions of everyday life, but when we're talking about seeking a state, we're talking about a certain state of mind or a vibrational level or something like that. The stateless state is the place to be, because that's pure peace. And the place of pure peace, pure equanimity, is also pure love. And it's the highest vibration there is. So if you're looking at it from the point of view of manifestation or something like that, there isn't a higher vibration. The vibration of pure of desirelessness, right, is the state of pure having. And if in that energy of pure having, well, that's the energy that all the law of attraction, everybody tells you to get, right? Get the state of feeling like you already have it. Well, the feeling of already having it isn't a state. It's the nature of things, because you already are that which is the source of everything. Let your sense of I, your sense of self, dwell there. You continued. Neville Goddard says, dwell in a state that you desire as if it is real, to manifest it in our world. How to dwell in a state to get what you desire. I've read Neville Goddard. I was actually aware of him a long time ago. I've been at this so long that people like him, actually, when they were still alive, I knew about them. He's not teaching spirituality. He's not teaching self-awareness or self-realization. He's not teaching non-duality. He's a good man, religious man. I have no complaints about it. But he's not teaching what I teach. Right? And now, I can talk about that it is self-evident that when you're in a certain state of mind, a happier state of mind is going to collect happier experiences. I mean, it's self-evident, right? And so we set out to try to attain certain states, right? And find that we can't, right? So we either get in a war with ourselves, and we try to doggedly visualize and hold on to something, right? Visualize it so tightly, right? Until all the veins are popping out of your head, right? Or we can simply look at it. There's this desire there, not make such a big deal out of it, and notice that there's also resistance there to it, right? You go, why would there be a resistance to something that's so obviously good for me? Well, I don't really know, but there it is. Now, notice I'm just taking you to a place where you're not trying to make a state happen. You're just allowing for a desire for something. And at the same time, you're not trying to push away a sense of inner resistance. Now, as you do that, what happens? Your vibration goes up because you're moving towards peace. Okay? You're moving out of conflict. Trying to hold on to this and get rid of this is a conflict, right? It starts from the place of lack. But if you come here to this place, which is completely allowing of all of the energies, you're not in a place of lack anymore. You're already in the place of having. Right? The only disagreement I have with Neville and others like that is there's so much of an emphasis on the results. I used to actually do stuff like that. I used to actually practice spiritual healing through that means. And that's all anybody wanted. Nobody wanted to know God. They just wanted to get healed. I thought something's really wrong with this. Something's off here. And I felt it intuitively. Right? Why is there such a pursuit of these objects? Why do I want to manifest this in the world? What's so important about this? And when I really started looking at it, I found that I was projecting all sorts of things into the manifestation that were really already here in me. And that what I didn't want to just convince myself that it's real in order for it to be real. I wanted to find the reality of it. I don't want to create another illusory world. I want the real one. I want to find the actual substance from which the manifestation appears. As Paul said, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is the very substance of the thing you're hoping for, the thing you're desiring, the thing you want to manifest. What's it made out of? It's made of faith. And what's that faith? Faith is seeing things that can't be seen with the eye. The eye can only see the manifestation. It thinks the manifestation is the thing. Manifestation isn't a thing, it's a manifestation, which means it's an appearance of something else. It's not the substance any more than the reflection in the mirror is you. It's an appearance of you. Right? What's the actual substance of what we're after? That's the state, right? But that state itself can be an object of pursuit. That state is a manifestation. Everything phenomenal, everything experienced, everything perceived is a manifestation. Where's the substance? The substance is you. That's what you have to find. And when you find that, you find the peace. And that peace is and love. That's the highest vibration. To that, manifestation happens or doesn't. It doesn't matter. You've found what you're looking for. Does that help, Aishwara? I think I said that correct. Robert. Hi, GP. I related to how do we dwell in a state? Often thoughts come up. How can I shift away from my ego coming in? I can tell when a feeling of control comes. Well, good. If you can tell when it comes, you can recognize that it's coming. You're watching it come, and it's not you. That's all you have to do. How can I shift away from my ego coming in? If by that you mean, how do I get it to not come in, right? I can't do that. Nobody can do that, right? When it doesn't matter whether it comes in or not, you're now free of it. It has no power over you, it has no control. You're neither holding on to it nor pushing it away. You have just unplugged it. So when you'll notice there's a feeling of wanting to control things. Recognize it's not you. You don't want to control things. That's the nervous system, which feels threatened and vulnerable. And the way it learned to compensate for feeling threatened and vulnerable is it tried to grab control. Of course, you can't get control. You can only give yourself the illusion of control. What we can control is actually very minuscule compared to everything that's available. But that's the focus. So just notice that is a feeling, that is an energy within the nervous system. It is a reactive pattern. Therefore, it is a trained behavior and not you. Right? When the ego coming in is the thought of I that says, I want control, or I don't like control. I want to get rid of wanting control. That I is the ego. The feeling of control, wanting control arises. Then the sense of an I that says, I want control arises. Both are being watched from the place which is neither ego nor has a preference for control. It is completely neutral. It is completely content. Can you see that, Robert? Continue to bring your attention back to that which is aware of the feeling of control, right? Instead of the feeling of control. Give that more emphasis. Oh, wow, I'm aware of it. Who am I? Right? Can you see? That's the whole nature of self-inquiry. The shift of contemplation goes from control to who am I that's aware of control? Instead, the control and the ego, all that's engaged our attention, we're focused on, then all of a sudden, wait a minute, to who is this appearing? Now, all of a sudden, interest becomes more centered in you, that which is aware, than what you are aware of. You're no longer, the fish aren't nearly as important as the ocean, right? Oh, I want to know who I am. Now, the more you do that, the more you feed that desire to know who you really are, which is the ultimate desire. It's the desire for freedom. It's really the mother of all other desires. Just bring that attention. So I really want to know who I am. That will completely override all lesser desires. And all other lesser desires will immediately turn you towards, to whom is this appearing? Oh, to me. Who am I? That's what I want to know. That's the big mystery. Who am I? I know what desire is. I know what I'm desiring for. I know that feeling. I know control. I know all of these things. Me, I don't know. I don't know me. I know thoughts about me. I want to know me. Then every opportunity becomes this opportunity to go, okay, to whom is this appearing? It was Ramana Maharshi used that all the time, by the way. So I'm not making this stuff up, folks. Barbara says, thanks and good night. You're late. Anne says, having massage after workshop. Soak it in. Very good. Very good. Massage would be great. Not a lot of talking, just lovely. Vanja, where'd you go? Thank you for all. Greetings from Slovenia. Hello, Vanja. Wonderful to have you. Himank Kumar, how to deal with abusive environment. Where your parents control your life and won't even let you sleep. Wow. Are you old enough to move out? Is that an opportunity for you? And you know, I always like to just tell people, look, you're not a victim. What options do you have in your circumstances, right? If somebody's in an abusive relationship, I do everything I can to get them out of it, you know, not to make them allow that, right? So I mean, when you say something, they won't even let you sleep. I mean, that's actually torture, right? So I mean, that perks my ears up when you say something like this, which why I'm reluctant to go into, you know, some kind of a spiritual internal thing to look at. I'm trying to grasp the depth of the abuse that we're talking about here, because not letting you sleep. I mean, it's one thing you're a teenager and they won't let you sleep till noon, right? They keep waking you up at 10 or something. It's another if they're literally keeping you up at night. That is highly abusive, illegal in, I think, just about every country on the planet. So please clarify that for me. Everybody feels as though their parents are controlling them, and to a certain degree, they have to, and they have the right to do that. But there is a limit to it. It is far better. Let's say it's not that abusive or torture, right? Let's not say it's that it's just your parents were oppressive. Mine were terribly. Couldn't do anything without their disdain. Well, mostly my mother. My father just didn't really exist very much. There was nothing I could do right. No, she didn't. She'd actually wake us up in the morning so she could make the beds because she didn't like the house not neat. I mean, so I know what it's like to be so intrusive, and I wish I knew then what I knew now. About that sort of thing, because there's a place within you that nobody can get to, that nobody can abuse, that nobody can subject to, and to find your freedom when you're young and under the rule of your parents. You have no choice but to conform to their wishes. Now, you can either conform that you are, you can either conform in such a way that you actually become everything they want and deny yourself, or you can rebel. That's what I did. Reject everything they stand for and become something completely. Well, both of those ways are artificial in that they don't actually allow you to acknowledge what you're really feeling. If you're conscious enough to come to a satsang and ask this question, then you're conscious enough to recognize that you're in a position where you have to consciously understand what your parents are doing and why, accommodate them, but don't internalize it, which means you're transcending your own anger, your own bitterness, recognizing the needs of the particular moment you're in, and then not letting them determine who you become. You continue the process of coming to know yourself well enough that you take care of yourself, and eventually, when their authority is no longer on you, your life is not just a reaction to what you were or a programmed result of what you were in, but you start to know genuine freedom when the environment eventually gives you that freedom. Did that make any sense to you? And of course, that's all contingent on the idea that it isn't as severe as abusive environment as you may have suggested. So please let me know. Himank? Tatiana, it seems Berlin, after the marriage of the two of them, after the fall of the wall, created something magical. Yeah, they did. When the wall fell, yeah, they did. They did, because the walls, all of these walls are artificial. They're in the minds of a few people, right? The ruling elite, politicians, and the like. Not to the people, not to us, right? We don't have anything against Afghanistan or the Iranians or anybody else. We don't have anything against any of them. The people, 99% of the population, have no problem with each other whatsoever. But in order for that 1% to maintain power, they have to make us feel as if there is some terrible difference, and there isn't any. It's all nonsense. And now, this wall, right, falls down, and what happens? Right? It was a party. It was delightful. And yes, magical things occurred. Wonderful things occurred. And Germany's a marvelous, marvelous place now. Right? Oh, my goodness. We're so stupid. Blossom, love yourself and discover that you are loving God. Yes. Yes, indeed. Joseph Campbell said God was simply a metaphor for the self. Beautiful. Tatiana, yes, desirelessness. Wow. Yeah. What does desire seek but the end of desire? Right? I mean, really, what does desire seek? The end of desire. Well, what if I could just end it now? Right? Oh, okay. We're good. Thank you. So maybe I can make some money being a sponsor, right? I can do one of these things. Like, no, you got to show the label where you go. Ava, thank you, G. Wonderful time of Satsang. So soothing and liberating. Wonderful. Robert says, thank you. I will unplug. I can think it is not me. Good. Unplug. Oh, it's a beautiful thing to unplug. Atkinson Lacey. Hello, sir. I can see your picture clearly. Loving this stuff. Better than cheesecake. That's the first time I've ever been compared to cheesecake, and I'm glad I came out on top. Ashvara said, okay, I'm looking from the I am perspective, but it's just that I have this deep sense of hunger to objectify my vision, to express these objects in the outer world. I want to experience and move on from there. It's like I have to see it for myself. This is where my deep desire is coming from, Good. I like that. I like, yes. Here's the deal. It is so natural to us to want to express who we are. Oh, it's so natural. We want to express. We want to give it life. We want to make manifest, to evolve, to grow. It is as human as anything else. Matter of fact, without it, we really wouldn't be human. Dogs don't have that. Lions on the Serengetis don't have that. Meerkats don't have that, right? Only we do. We are the manifestation of the creative impulse of being. Right? So there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when the ego gets a hold of that, it feels that its happiness and its sense of well-being and its sense of self-worth comes from that manifestation. And at that point, the manifestation now becomes an object you're pursuing and not an internal experience that you are realizing. It gets focused outward. I want to do that, right? Who's that I? Who's that I that wants that? Does God sit around and go, God, I really want to manifest this? No. Let there be light, and there was light, right? So what is that state? Well, that state is not something that is attached and defining itself in terms of these accomplishments, right? It's finding its sense of self somewhere else, and then those accomplishments can come or not. I've had some huge, extraordinary accomplishments in my life that just came. They just happened. Others, couldn't find my way out of a paper bag, right? One has to expect both. So here's what I'm going to recommend that you do. Not just try to look at it from the I am perspective, right? But that's part of it. I want you to completely own the desire, all the intensity of it, but just sit back and watch it. Don't let it grab you and start pulling you into a sense of urgency. I've got to do it. All of that energy that gets around it. See if you can get this desire to make manifest and make that enjoyable in and of itself. That there's a joy in just that creative energy itself, right? Which is second chakra energy, this juice of life, right? Without an attachment to the outcome. See if you can just feel the energy in that moment, right? And really let it be there fully, without letting the mind jump ahead. How do I do it? Make this happen. I want to do this, all this, because that all just creates suffering. See if you can feel the raw energy of life itself. Start with that, right? Notice I'm not denying our desire for this. I want to bring you into right relationship with it, because if the relationship is off, you're going to turn it into something that it isn't. It's going to have control over you, and you're going to create ongoing suffering for yourself. You'll know happiness when it works, and you'll know misery when it doesn't. And that's what you want to transcend. You want this to be up and down. Life is going to be up and down. Some things are going to happen, some things aren't. You have no control over that. You're kind of the garden in which this plant grows. So see yourself as the I am, experiencing intense desire, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And see if you can just be with it, right? Without being drawn in to how you've been conditioned to respond to that desire. In the same way we're conditioned to respond to adverse conditions, a reaction and resistance, we're also conditioned to respond to desires, right, as to grab onto them. In both of those cases, you're coming from a place of lack, right? So instead, be in the place that isn't lacking, that has no idea what lack is, and recognize that the desire itself is a powerful experience, and you're not lacking it. And then don't let the mind create, yeah, I've got it, but I don't have what I desire. That creates lack. There's no lack in the desire itself. See if you can feel that. Explore it. And you'll find, my God, there isn't any lack in the desire. It's just the desirous energy. I wonder where it's going to go. And then take your hands off of it and see what happens. You'll find that you will become increasingly content. You'll no longer be the slave to these desires. And suddenly ways will open for them to unfold that will completely surprise you. But it won't matter to you whether they do or not. You'll be content. And that's what's important. Freedom from suffering. That's what we're here for. Hi, Mike says, thank you for your sympathies. My parents are in positions of power in my society. It's just that due to the corona these days, my sleep cycle has shifted and I usually sleep until noon. Right. I just had online exams a few days and they've been having political guests over since then, whom I am required to entertain and attend to. Oh my God, that must suck. Sorry, dude. Given the fact, I think it's a dude. Yeah, hold on. Yes. Or is it? I can't tell. I'm sorry. If you're not, I can't tell. I can't tell the picture. And I'm not familiar with your language to know whether High Monk is a girl's name or a boy's name. Let's see, been a political guest who I'm required to entertain and attend to, given the fact that I'm a sweet talker, despite the fact, despite the fact, I have been sleep deprived since then. I had a big fight with my father when I tried to explain him how deadly and insane sleep deprivation can be for a person, but he just wouldn't budge. Unfortunately, again, due to the Rona, I'm locked with my parents in their residence while it lasts. Okay, good. All right, gotcha. Good. So it's not like we have to do an intervention. Okay, here's the deal. Whatever circumstance, no circumstance you are in limits you. Only you can limit you by saying, this circumstance is hurting me, right? So you gave your father all the reasons why they shouldn't sleep deprive you, right? He didn't budge. Okay, let go of it, right? And let go of the idea that if you don't get the sleep, you're going to get hurt. That idea, that belief will create the hurt, not the sleep deprivation. My God, it is so subtle and almost nobody sees this, right? It is not the circumstances that create suffering. It is our belief about the circumstances that creates the suffering. You could go for weeks without sleep, and without a belief that would cause you any problem, it would not cause you a problem. If this is the circumstance you're in and you have to be there, right? Take it. Attach absolutely nothing to it. This is what life has given me. It seems like it's coming from my parents and the like, but this is what life is giving me. This is my karma. This is whatever it is I'm here to deal with. I know it's here for my benefit. So I'm going to make the absolute best of it. I'm not going to give it anything. I'm not going to lay anything on it other than what it is. Even the word sleep deprivation, throw it out. It's not true. I got X amount of sleep. I wanted more. That's true. And notice, there's no pejorative in there. There's no judgment. There's no interpretation. It's a simple statement of fact. I wanted more sleep. I didn't get it. And then let it go. Don't even use the word sleep deprivation. And just begin to be like water instead of fighting your parents, which I know is hard. You should have seen me when I was a kid. Oh my God. I know it's hard, but to just be obedient to what has to happen, right, because of the position you're in, does not mean you have to internalize it. It is not you're making a tactical compromise. You're not making a strategic surrender. You remain who you are, right? Your parents are who they are. They don't know any better, right? So you've already seen trying to reason with them doesn't work, right? So you first become like water and just become so fluid that they can't really touch you anymore. And you'll also find that the less resistant you are, there'll be a shift in the entire energy, the entire environment. It's inevitable, right? Because there's a dynamic in every family system where everybody does the thing, it gets into a stable system, right? And everybody acts the way they act. But if you start softening and all of a sudden you're not acting the same, the entire system is going to be shaken, and you'll end up. Well, first off, you'll find some inner peace, right? And that will inevitably have its effect. So glad I could help you with that, Imik. Roberto, what if I never find the reason for which I suffer anxiety and sadness? Does it really matter? I will heal anyway. No, it doesn't matter. Thank God. It doesn't matter. Sometimes the causes, the things that put these things into place are so subtle and so complex that our minds couldn't possibly figure them out. The good news is we don't have to know. The energy system itself knows why it's there. We just have to give it this, and it knows what to do with it. It knows it's not supposed to be this way. It knows it. It knows everything, right? But it assumes the environment in which this position is needed still exists. Your job is to prove to it that that environment doesn't exist anymore, right? Don't force it, nothing, right? And that's all you have to do. You create the environment, right? You don't care how it happened, right? You know, people can be in talk therapy and psychoanalysis for 10, 15 years. Know every little detail about everything that happened and every combination and everything and all the reasons why, and still be miserable. Right? It's useless and unnecessary. Create a safe space. Be the loving environment that it didn't have that created the energy in the first place. Become the environment that it should have had, that if it had, this wouldn't have happened, and it will eventually begin to take note. Go, oh, things look different. Kind of stick your toe in the water, back away a bit. So you don't need to know. Matter of fact, often I don't want to know. I don't care. Right? If as in the process of this energy releasing itself, it needs to tell me the story, fine. Right? But you know, the story I tell you may not even be the ultimate story. It could be like from a past life or something. It can be completely metaphorical. Remember, this is a world of images and forms and irrationality. It's not the world of literal historical truth, right? So just whatever gives you, fine, right? Oh, thank you for telling me that, and just let it happen. So, oh wow, I've probably been all the way to 2:30. Ishvara says, okay, thank you so much. I'll try that and get back to you. Good. But when you're trying it, don't try it with an eye to getting some kind of manifest results. The first manifestation is always a sense of well-being, sense of peace, a sense of less dependency on actually getting what you need. That is the first manifestation. And that's the ground. Desire itself is a manifestation. It's a manifestation of something that's there prior to the result, right? It's actually there before that. So, Humonk, thank you for your kind words, sir. I'll go and apologize to my father right now for the fight. Oh, I'm a 22-year-old Indian male. But what's your opinion on Kundalini chakra openings, and is it dangerous? I teach non-duality, right? I teach about the chakras, but the class I do on the chakras is the chakras as archetypes. That is, as a metaphor or a mythology that represents aspects of our consciousness, right? So I don't teach them as these swirling balls of light and you open them and all that kind of stuff. I teach them in the way that most religious spiritual teaching is, which is metaphors for something that can't be seen. And the chakras really are non-physical energy, right? As far as Kundalini is the model. That's the model everybody sees of the chakras, lining up and like that. And do not seek Kundalini awakening. Do not seek the cities. Do not seek any of those things. You don't need them. You can have really intense emotional experiences before you're ready. that can wreak havoc on a person's nervous system. I've worked with people who've worked really hard. They've gotten the Kundalini awakening, but they weren't awake, right? They were still messed up. They still had the same conditioning. So now all this other energy is coming into the system that it can't handle. So don't do it. Just don't go there, right? Who are you? I keep wanting people bringing back to, who are you? What does it matter if you experience a Kundalini awakening or a chakra opening? If you have this great emotion, it's an experience, right? When you know it's an experience, because there was a time you didn't have it, you had it, and then it's gone, right? So it's just an experience. Anything that's an experience is not the truth. It's not you. Right? Who are you that is having the experience? This Satsang monk is of the lineage of Shankara. This is Advaita Vedanta. Shankara, the Zen masters, more recently Ramana, but going all the way back through the Vedas. So it comes from your tradition in India. So don't worry about all that other stuff. Really, don't worry about it. Trust me, it's not important, right? What's important, the actual awakening is self-realization. It is not an energetic explosion. It is simply the simple realization that I am way more than I thought I was. I am the pure awareness. And that's not an experience that you have. It's what you are. It's not an experience because it had no beginning and it had no end. It has no end. All right, that's it for today, folks. Thank you all. I love you. I get to see some of you next Friday, starting on Friday. And next, I will do Satsang next week. It may end up starting late. Depends on how long, because right up to start Satsang time, the retreat is going on. So I probably will go right into Satsang afterwards. But if I'm a bit late, just hang out. We'll be good. Thank you, says Mary. Thank you, says Anne. Assume none next. Yes, I just explained that. So yes, there will be. Because yeah, I'm supposed to hold it, the actual sessions themselves, to 2 hours. That was my, but you know me. They'll probably go a little bit over. So anyway, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Namaste.